Hello, welcome to this video. Today we're looking at something slightly different, looking at Photopea. So we're going to go through how to create a composite image using the layer mask feature. So for those not familiar with Photopea, it's a browser-based image editor that works very similar to Photoshop. If you want my full walkthrough guide on using Photopea, click on the banner on the top right-hand corner and you can watch my guide there. So first off, we're going to open stuff from the computer. You can do that by clicking Open from Computer, or you can simply just drag the files into the box and it will open them all up. So you can see I've got my images there. They are a little bit dark, but for the purposes of this, they will do the trick. So first things first, let's just do a bit of an adjustment. So we'll go Image, Adjustment and Levels, and we'll just make them a little bit brighter. Let's get some of that mid-tone a bit brighter. Slightly washed out, I know, but just so you can see what's going on, that's better. There we are, okay with that one. So what you're going to do first off, having done an adjustment layer on all of those, and we can just quickly go through and do that. Image, adjustment and levels. Now typically you would bring that to the edge there and you'd maybe tweak the mid-tone a little bit. Okay, and I'll do the same with the next one. Image, adjustment and levels. And just do the same with that one as well. I think that'll do us for the purposes of this. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose which is going to be your base canvas, your base layer. So this is going to be my base layer. So I'm going to copy and paste everything into that layer. So I'll go back to my first one. The asterisk says it hasn't been saved, if you're wondering what the asterisk means. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command A, because I'm on a Mac, and Command C. It would be Control if you're on a PC. And I'm going to click back to my base canvas and do Command V. Allow that to happen. So I've now got two layers, as we can see in the layers palette there. So I'm going to close that last one and go to my next one and do the same thing. Command A, Command C, and back, Command V. And then I can go back to this one and I can close that. And do the same here, Command A, Command C, back to the original one, Command V. Not sure if I want that one actually, so we're going to move that one to the trash. So click and hold that and move that to the trash. And we will close that one. And we will go with this one instead. So we'll just do a quick adjustment on that image, adjustment levels, and just tweak that a bit brighter. There we go. So we're going to do Command A, Command C, and back to our original canvas and Command V. And we can close that one. And then finally, we're going to do the same with this one. We'll do an image adjustment and levels. And okay. And we're going to do Command A, Command C, back to our original canvas, Command V. So we've now got all of our images in one document. So we've got all of our images in that one document. So we're going to focus on that first one. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a mask. So if you come down the bottom, you can see Add Raster Mask. If you click on that, now you can see if we click on the image, that means we're working on the image. You can see the little marching ants around the image. If we click on to the mask, we can see the little marching ants. So just be aware of what you're working on. So in this case, we want to work on the mask. So we can now do a selection, and we've got different ways we can do a selection. We can try the magnetic lasso tool and see how that works. And if there was lots of contrast, it would work reasonably well. But there isn't a huge amount of contrast difference. So, but for the purposes of this video, we will just give it a go for speed. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to select the person that you want to appear in the other images. So what we're doing is it's a form of non-destructive editing. So we could, in theory, just delete all of the background, but actually we don't want to do that. We want to preserve that. So all we're doing is just removing the bits. We're just selecting the bits that we want. So if you click when using the magnetic lasso tool, it gives you a point. So if it's struggling to determine the contrast and make it an accurate selection, you can sort of force it into picking an accurate selection. That's it. And now we could do below the thing. I suppose we could just do that. Down to the edge, across and then up. So we've now got that selected. Okay, so what we're going to do now, having made our selection, is we're going to invert our selection. So we're going to go to select and inverse. And then having inverted the selection, we're going to make sure we're on the mask and we're going to paint black. So we're going to click and hold, choose the paint bucket tool and just paint in. We can now see that we've got 2 people in our shot. We can go Command D or Control D to get rid of the ants. And we've got 2 people. You can see the cutting out isn't quite perfect. We can tidy that up in a bit. So having done that one, we can turn off that layer and we can get rid of the surplus layer that we don't want. And we can go to the next layer. So now on this layer, we're going to repeat the same process. We're going to click. So we're going to add a second raster mask. And then we're going to make our selection. So as before, we're going to use the magnetic lasso tool. Remember, just to click if it's struggling to detect the edge. If you find it's making a mistake, you can just go backspace and that will remove the last anchor point that you made. So we'll click around there. Again, just being careful where the contrast is not huge. I think what happened when we did the pictures, the camera got confused using the camera meter with the bright white of the stairwell. So we should really have bracketed to get a better exposure on the people. But for the purpose of this will do. So I'm just adding anchor points in by clicking until we get around the subject. So we've now made our selection. Just like previously, we're going to go up to select and inverse. And then we're going to go to the color palette, choose the paint bucket tool, make sure we're on black, make sure that we're on the raster mask and just paint into the raster mask. So we've now got, if we turn on the top layer, we've now got 1, 2, 3 people appearing in the image. To make this really effective, the key things when you come to shooting the images are to make sure the camera remains in register. Then the next thing to be aware of is to add extra to the effect is potentially change the clothes that the person is wearing. But for the purposes of this, we've now got 3 people in. We're going to add our 4th person in, so we can go Command or Control D to get rid of the marching ants. We can turn off the 2 layers that we've just done and we can focus on that base layer. So we're going to firstly add a raster mask and then we're going to make our selection. Now I have a feeling that the magnetic lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool is, the magnetic lasso tool is going to struggle a little bit because the contrast is not huge on this, but we will give it a go and we'll see what we go. I'm doing it reasonably quickly just because I want to show you on this video, but you could obviously take your time and just work a bit more effectively. The key thing is making sure that you have shot it correctly when you took the photographs. So that will do for that. So again, we're going to go up to select and inverse, and then having made sure that our mask is selected, and you can see little marching ants around our mask, we're going to paint black into that. And now if we turn on our images, we can see there I am. We can get rid of the marching ants by going Command D, and you can see there I am appearing in all 4 shots. So really quick and fun way of creating a composite image. So that's using Photopea and the raster mask and the magnetic lasso tool to create a composite image. So I said, remember when you're photographing, make sure that the camera remains in register. If you want to add an extra dimension, then maybe get a change of clothes for the person so that they look different in each picture. But they have a very quick and easy way of creating a composite image using Photopea. I did mention about refining the selection. So what you can do just before we close the video is if we zoom in and then use the spacebar to navigate around the image, we can see that we've got a few bits of misselection. So if we choose the right layer, so we can find the right layer, it's layer 1. If we choose that, then click on the mask itself, we can then start to tweak the selection. So if we want to add more to the selection, we can click on white. So just to show you, and that's going to add more of the background in, or if we want to get less of the background in, we can turn it to black, and you can see I can just tidy up that image around the shoulder area just to make sure it's looking nice and tidy. And again, potentially I've made a mistake. Oh, So there we've made a mistake, so we can rotate to white. And we can just tidy that up. And again, we could do the arm as well, but just for the purposes of this, again, we can go in a bit closer. It's not the best resolution. We'll flick back to black, and we can see we can bring in the rest of the face. So on the paintbrush, oh, we need white actually, and we'll just get the rest of the face in. Maybe tidy up the arms a bit. And then round the finger, we'll revert back to black. And you can use the bracket keys just to reduce the size of the cursor as you go. And then when you're happy, you can use the Alt key and zoom back out. So there you have it, a multi-person composite using Photopea. So I hope you found the video useful. If you did, remember to subscribe to the channel and join me again soon for more EdTech videos. Thanks for watching.